Hello, Namaskar, Vanakkam, Salam. Dear friends, today, as I earlier promised about that, we have to discuss about the demand. Even ending of the two videos, there also I talked about that. I will discuss about the demand. And it's a very important thing in economics because when the layman talked about the subject matter of economics, they used to say that okay, what is demand? Many times they used to ask the question, what is demand? So that's why today I'm going to start to discuss about what is exactly demand in economics. That is demand. Demand. Now, demand generally, literally, if we ask the question about demand and what is demand or what is the meaning of demand, then many used to say that demand means asking for something, and it's also the meaning of the demand means asking for something. Now, question is that if we ask, will you get? Not always. If you demand something to your parents, then you may get. But demand doesn't mean that suppose in Hindi movies, in Hollywood, Bollywood movies, it is shown that some terrorist groups or dacoits used to kidnap children from their parents and demand for money. So many times demand used to mean like that, but in economics demand is not like that. In economics, demand means asking for something, paying the appropriate price. Because you see, if we demand, suppose if you go to a showroom, if you go to a garment shop, if you like a particular dress, so if you demand, will you get? You'll never get. But if you uh, pay for it, then only you will get. But how much you have to pay? Then the shopkeeper will give you. Of course, you have to pay the price of that commodity. When you pay the price, then only you get. So, in economics, demand means paying, asking for something, paying the appropriate price. Asking for something, paying the appropriate price is called demand. So, that is by definition, demand means a certain amount of commodity that a consumer is willing to and able to buy at different price at a given period of time. Repeat. A certain amount of commodity that a consumer is willing to and able to buy at different price at a given period of time is called demand. So here three things we have to remember. One is willingness. Another one is ability. And number three is period of time. Period of time. These three things, willingness, someone must have the willingness, then only he will demand. Now another thing is that willingness is not enough. Suppose you are going in front of a Mercedes car showroom and you have a willingness, of course, to have a Mercedes car. But will it be possible? It's not possible because you must have the ability. That is why the ability comes here. Again, another thing is that period of time. Demand is always discussed at a certain period of time. So willingness and ability and the period of time. These three things you have to remember for a demand. So that is demand means demand backed by enough money in economics. Now here in this demand, one thing again we have to discuss that what are the factors that influences over the demand, and that is called factor affecting or the determinants of demand. That is determinants of demand means what are the things that influences over the demand or that determines the demand. Here one thing that we can discuss, that is own price of the commodity, own price of the commodity. So what is that? On price of the commodity means the price of that particular commodity. There is an inverse relationship between price and quantity demand. That is, if the price of the commodity increases, quantity demand decreases, or if the price decreases, quantity demand increases. That is inverse relation. Again, number two determinants, price of related goods. Price of related goods. So there are two types of related goods. One is substitute goods. Another one is complementary goods. Substitute goods and complementary goods. These two are known as related goods. What is substitute goods? Substitute goods means when one commodity is demanded instead of another to fulfill the same satisfaction. That is called substitute goods. Means both goods are, one can replace another to fulfill the same purpose. Say, I am giving an example here. Here, tea and coffee. Tea and coffee. These are the two goods. Tea and coffee, they are the two goods. So let's write in the above. Let's write in the above. Tea and coffee. Tea and coffee, both are substitute to each other. Suppose you are having a habit to have a cup of coffee every day evening. Okay, that is a habit. But one day there is no available coffee at home, but tea is there. Okay, you can use coffee instead of tea, or you can use tea instead of coffee. So that is why both are substitute each other. Both are hot beverages, but little bit difference is there, but it doesn't mean that totally different. So that is why both are substitute each other. Now, how it demands? Say this is tea. If the price of coffee increases, demand for tea will increase. If the price of coffee decreases, demand for tea will decrease. Why? Because you see, if the price of coffee increases, the people who are consuming coffee, they will shift to the tea, and that is the demand for tea will increase. Or if the price of coffee decreases, then demand for tea will decrease, because if the price of coffee decreases, the people who are consuming tea, they will move to the coffee. So now here notice one thing. One thing you notice, here the demand for tea has been getting changed not because of the price of tea, but because the price of coffee. So the coffee is a related goods of tea. Now the price of coffee is influencing our tea. So this is how the substitute, the related goods influence our its demand. The price of the related goods influences over the demand. Now come to the complementary goods. This one. Okay. In case of complementary goods, I am giving the example. One is car, another one is petrol. Car and petrol, both are complementary to each other. By definition, when two commodities are jointly demanded to fulfill the same satisfaction, then that is called complementary goods to each other. That is car, petrol. You can give more examples of that. Say milk and tea, sugar and tea. Of course, those who are not diabetic. So now here you see car and petrol. Without petrol, car is of no use. Without car, petrol is of no use. It means that to get the service of transportation, you need both car and petrol simultaneously. So that is why now you notice one thing here. If the price of petrol increases, demand for car will decrease. If the price of petrol increases, demand for car will decrease. And if the price of petrol decreases, demand for car will increase. Now see here, it's of course because when the price of petrol decreases, people will buy more car because buying the car is a one-time investment. But for petrol, it is a recurring expenditure. Every day you need car. Every day you need petrol. So that is why because of the fall in the price of petrol, demand for car will increase. The opposite might happen. If the price of petrol increases, demand for car will decrease. People will not buy more car because the price of petrol has gone up. Because every day to run the car, of course, you need petrol, and that is why here, because of the increase in the price of petrol, demand for car will decrease. Now notice one thing here. Here the demand for car has been increasing or decreasing not because of the price of car but because of the petrol. So now again we are going to discuss about another determinants, that is number 3 determinants, that is income of the consumer. Income of the consumer. This is also one of the determinants of demand. Generally we know that when income increases, demand increases. Means income of the consumer increases, demand increases. Income of the consumer decreases, demand decreases. It's not that simple. There is some other criteria. We know there are two types of goods. One is normal goods. Another one is inferior goods. Normal goods and inferior goods. In case of normal goods, it has a positive income effect. When price of that commodity increases, demand for normal goods also increases. Okay. In case of inferior goods, when the price of the when income of the consumer increases, demand for inferior goods decreases. Now you see, in case of normal goods, when income of the consumer increases, demand for normal goods increases. When income decreases, demand for normal goods decreases. In case of inferior goods, when income of the consumer increases, demand for inferior goods decreases, and vice versa. Now the big question is that what is normal goods and what is inferior goods? Normal goods generally, just I am giving you one example. Suppose nowadays laptop is a normal good, desktop is an inferior good. Of course, when someone income increases, he will go for laptop. Means more income increases, more demand for laptop will be there. And in case of desktop, when people's or consumers income increases, demand for desktop will decrease. So it has a negative income effect. So in case of normal goods, it has a positive income effect. In case of inferior goods, it has a negative income effect. It means that in case of normal goods, when income increases, quantity demand increases, and vice versa. In case of inferior goods, when income of the consumer increases, quantity demand decreases, and vice versa. Opposite might happen because when income of the people decreases, if they have less money, what they will do? They will buy desktop, not laptop. So many other examples are there. I am giving these two examples. And now let's discuss about the number 4 determinants. That is number 4. That is taste, habits, and preferences of the consumer. This is another one. Now, when there is a favorable taste, or when there is a preference, or when something becomes habit, In that case, the demand for that commodity means I am talking about when there is a favorable taste towards a particular commodity, or when the consumers are preferring a particular commodity than other commodity, or when there is a there have when there forms a habit to buy that commodity, of course, the demand will increase. Now, opposite will happen when there is no taste, people will not demand, people don't have it, or people not preferring, the demand will be less. And the last one that I am discussing about last determinants of that individual demand is future expectation of change in price. So this is another thing. When there is an expectation of change in price in near future. What kind of change? Suppose if now, suppose in the month of July, the price of a commodity has decreased by 10%. But people come to know that during the festive season, during the month of October, Durga Puja and Diwali, at that time the price of the commodity will fall more. So now people will not demand for the commodity, people will wait for the day when price will fall. That is the future expectation. Or if there is another expectation that very soon the price might go up, so people will buy more right now because they are expecting in near future price will go up or near future price is going to change. So these are the determinants of demand. And again, I just repeating very fast. What is demand? Demand means a certain amount of commodity that a consumer is willing and able to buy at given price at a given period of time. So dear friends, thank you. Thank you for today. Next class we will discuss about how to draw the demand curve. Jai Hind, Jai Ho. Thank you.